The AI boom didn't slow down in 2025, but as we look to 2026, the picture for the future has evolved as more unresolved questions swirl around the AI industry. Is there a bubble and will it burst? Why do we keep hearing of AI experiments and trials failing? And just what impact should we expect from this technology? In this video, I'm going to look ahead to give you some of my predictions of where these issues might land in 2026 and how you should be preparing to get the best from AI while insulating yourself from risks. My name is Nick DeCourcy. I'm a Microsoft 365 consultant who specialises in AI adoption for small and medium-sized businesses. I'm also a Microsoft MVP for Microsoft 365 Copilot. If you're interested in keeping up with AI developments in the Microsoft space and across the tech industry, make sure you get subscribed to the channel and drop this video a like so you can get to see more from me in the future. And if you're interested in working with me, check out the links down in the video description to find out more about me and how to get in contact. So we can't talk about the future of AI without talking about the potential for there being an AI bubble. And this has been bubbling away right the way through 2025 and shows no sign of abatement as we go into 2026. But my prediction around this is maybe not what you would expect, and that is that clearly there is some kind of bubble. There's overheating in the AI industry. You're seeing AI everywhere, you're seeing new innovations coming out of lots of different businesses, and we're really feeling like AI is being injected everywhere in our lives. And that isn't necessarily universally positive. I mean, there are lots of things going on right now that are negative consequences of all this excitement about AI, not necessarily the technology itself, but the excitement around it. Things like electricity prices skyrocketing, or the price of RAM, which is just going through the roof right now. And these things are starting to have, and will continue to have, significant negative consequences alongside the positives that we might see out of the AI technology generally. So my thought for 2026 is that we are likely to see some impact on this AI bubble. Is it going to burst completely in the same way that the dot-com bubble did in the early 2000s? Well, maybe not, but certainly we're going to start to see, I would think, some impact on these negative consequences that we're seeing of AI, and a lot of pushback on the fact that there's lots of this AI everywhere, but not all of that AI is useful. I think there's just too much noise and confusion, and not every innovation is a good innovation. And the problem with all of this is that the companies that I think are most in this to drive that long-term value, companies like Microsoft that are developing products like Microsoft 365 Copilot, they can only devote so much of their attention to those new things, those innovations that they think are going to drive the most impact, because they also need to hedge their bets on what everyone else is doing. They can't see a big new headline feature come out of OpenAI or out of Anthropic or out of any of the other providers of this technology and not do something to keep in that same race. So the biggest impact of this like AI everywhere and not all of this AI being useful is that we see companies that could perhaps make this a lot more useful, a lot more quickly, actually spreading themselves too thinly across far too many different technologies, different products, different additions to those products. And so in the end, what we all end up with is some confusion. Perhaps we do see some of these AI startups, they kind of get checked on their promises and found to be wanting. And so some of them start to disappear. Some of that investment kind of goes out of the industry. But also perhaps we start to see more clarity on regulation. I think one of the biggest places where this approach that we've seen to date is possibly going to have impact is that as we see money moving around the AI industry that's driving up costs for businesses that have previously delivered profits that they've then been taxed on, those costs are being driven up by AI, whether that's through electricity, whether that's through technology. So perhaps we're seeing an impact on their bottom lines, while we're also seeing huge investment into the AI industry that isn't actually driving any profits today. So overall, I'm quite positive that these negative aspects that we see right now, that we have seen come to the fore and be talked about more over the course of the last year, are going to start to get worked out in some way. And what's going to disappear is perhaps a lot of the noise around this. Maybe not in 2026, maybe this will be longer term, but as time goes on, we'll see less noise around this issue and more value being built. Because in the end, all of these businesses that are building AI products need to deliver value to someone in order to be successful. They can only get get so far by making promises that don't get fulfilled or delivering products that don't quite live up to expectations. And that's what we're seeing a lot today, and hopefully we're going to see a lot less of it by the time we get to the end of 2026. So another aspect that we should talk about is the fact that we keep hearing about AI trials or AI experiments that kind of go the wrong way. We've seen situations where organisations that have maybe laid off staff in a certain department because of AI then have to invite those staff back, or these things that we see on social media about, hey, I used an AI coding assistant, it deleted all my stuff, and all of these different kind of scenarios that keep coming to the fore and bubbling up around the negative impact that the AI can have. And I actually think that, all of these AI experiments that fail, and they do fail. I mean, you see a lot of this. What we're not really thinking about is, well, we're trying to do something entirely new as opposed to do something iteratively. Like, a person with no experience of coding doesn't suddenly become a coder because of AI. A company with a support team, a customer service team, that has a busy customer service support line and emails and so on and so forth, and some problems are easy to resolve and others are very, very complicated and need effort from that team in order to deliver the best back to the customer. They don't suddenly get rid of those complicated cases because of AI, So all of these scenarios where you see these kind of negative repercussions coming out of AI, it almost comes from either trusting the AI too much or believing that the AI can deliver something that it just can't. The technology isn't there today to do it. But if we look at a product like Microsoft 365 Copilot, it's my view that as these kind of random AI experiments do fail out in some quarters, that the actual benefit of the product that Microsoft has put together in Copilot starts to become clear because of its contextual supremacy, both in terms of the data that it has access to out of the box, and also the fact that these are products that are put alongside what you're actually doing and how people are actually working. And if you think about it, what we've got in Copilot is a tool that builds very much on a set of established foundations that most businesses have been building on for the last 20, 30, in some cases 40 years since Microsoft's business software started to become a thing. If you are someone who knows how to use Excel and use that to do your job, then Microsoft's strategy is bring AI help that's relevant, contextually relevant to what you're doing in Excel. If you're using Outlook, the same thing. If you're using Dynamics 365 as a CRM system, then exactly the same thought process. This isn't about telling people, well, throw everything out that you've done before, throw the baby out with the bathwater and start again, which is the message that we seem to be getting with a lot of AI tools today. It's about iteratively building on what we've done before. And so by taking what you actually do and where you actually work and the data that you actually work with, Copilot doesn't get it all right. It doesn't always get every question right. It doesn't always give you something that you could take and send out straight away. But the initial message of Copilot was, from Microsoft, we're hoping that Copilot is going to help you to move your work forward, and sometimes that will be by creating a first draft which you can use to build on, or alternatively by creating an output that's usefully wrong. So it's my view that this foundation, or foundations like it, I mean there's a similar foundation over with Google for example, is going to be what most organisations build initial success with AI on. And at this point, a couple of years into using Copilot myself and helping other organisations to put in place Copilot, and the results that Microsoft is publishing about organisations that have used Copilot, I think it is clear that this is a tool that is useful, and over the course of 2025 has become increasingly so. And over the course of 2026, I think a lot more of those rough edges are going to be sanded away. I think the level of integration into the tasks that we generally do every day is going to be greater. And through the agents that we're seeing coming along, whether that be agents that use the new Claude models, or whether that be agents that are dealing with our files, all the different things that we're seeing now building around Microsoft 365 Copilot, at the end of 2026, I don't think we're going to sit here and say, oh wow, there was some technological revolution around Copilot, but we will be sitting here and saying, yes, this definitely checks off a lot of the boxes that were issues that we wanted checked off at this time, and definitely has moved forward a great deal since this was first released a couple of years back. Microsoft likes to talk about the frontier firm, this idea of integrating AI and how that AI integration kind of goes in seasons as we get from where we might be today to a future state where people are working with teams of agents, and we've really transformed the way work works by using the capabilities of AI alongside all of the other technological capabilities that we already had and we continue to develop. And I think this is really important, as for me 2026 is really going to be the year where we start to prove out the idea that those organisations that have been taking a more long-term strategic approach when it comes to AI, rather than just chasing down every new feature and every new innovation, are going to be the ones that start to see the dividends of this. That we're going to start to see organisations with real AI maturity, with real capabilities to do long-term AI adoption. And as we start to, as I mentioned, check off various boxes of these are the things that we need Copilot or similar tools to be able to do, and this is what they can do today, actually have the capabilities within their organisation to lead that adoption effort so that those useful things become part of the day-to-day. And over the course of months and years, we see productivity increases, we see morale boosts, we see people feeling happier working in those organisations, teaming up with AI tools that help them to do their work better, that help them to do their work quicker, and help them to feel like they're actually achieving more by putting more of what they want to do into their work day to day, rather than just having to do the mundane tasks that really drain what we're doing by having us focus on the urgent versus being able to focus on the important. And so we've kind of gone through a process over the last couple of years of really some organisations still chasing down everything that's new, and others kind of sitting back and more taking a longer term view of what's going on here. And I think if you're in the position of you're not quite sure what your AI strategy is, you're not quite sure how these technologies relate to your job, relate to your organisation, then now is really the time to be thinking, well, how do I get myself and my business to a position where we are more modelling those organisations that appear to be more set for success with this technology into the future, rather than just cherry picking interesting innovations that kind of seem appealing, but maybe on their own are interesting, but together don't really build more of a whole that you want. If you just go out there and you buy in services, whether they're services that you're buying as part of Microsoft 365, like Copilot, or the things that you're going out and you're getting piecemeal from third-party providers, then if you never go through the effort of actually thinking about how do we adopt this, how do we train our teams on this, how do we make sure that this new thing that we think is really going to help us is actually embedded into what we do every day, then you're never going to have any impact from it. And you can have the best of intentions at the kind of top level of we've provided all of these different tools that people can use, look at the capabilities that we've bought. But success isn't about buying capabilities. Success is about using capabilities to deliver something. And that's the piece of the puzzle where a lot of organisations really fail. If you never had a strategy to get them to move from your on-premise file share into SharePoint Online, then they never did. If you never had a strategy to get people to adopt Teams rather than to use email, then they never adopted Teams. You've still got a mess there. And exactly the same way, if you haven't embedded a strategy that really thinks about what is the relevance of these AI tools to my organisation, to the processes I go through, to the teams that I work with, then it doesn't matter what tool you buy. It could be the best tool, it could be the most expensive tool, it could be the most innovative version of that technology. It's not going to change anything, because at the end of the day what you need is people, whether it's one person or whether it's an entire organisation of people, to actually take the time to start to use it. And this is the important lesson of technology that we have seen time and time again. So there we go. That's kind of a different set of predictions to what I've done the last couple of years. The last couple of years I've talked about features, and I've talked about wouldn't it be great to see this or to see that. But, you know, I'm thinking right now what everyone needs is thinking about this as maybe a little bit more foundational. There are lots of features out there, and which you choose to use or which which you choose to focus on doesn't matter so much as the kind of more general thinking around what the impact of these tools is going to be. And obviously, if you choose to use Microsoft 365 Copilot, that's great because that is my tool of choice. But I'm also very interested in what's going on with other tools like Claude and Gemini and other tools that are out there. So I certainly don't think badly of anyone if you choose to use something else, so long as you do it in a way that is clear, that is actually delivering on something for you or your organization, and most importantly, that you do it safely. So let me know down in the comments what your predictions for 2026 are. Are there changes that you want to see across the whole AI industry, or are there specific features or capabilities that you're lacking that you really want to start arriving in these tools? Let me know, start that conversation. I'll be interested to see what you say down there. And as we go into 2026, Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you for being here with me. I'm looking forward to creating another year full of interesting videos, looking at new features, new capabilities and things that are coming out, as well as helping you with your adoption efforts on the stuff that's already there. So thank you for being here with me, and until the next video,